This is the classic Pentax MX. This is in the category of cameras I wish I'd had in the past. This was a very popular camera around 1979, 1980, and as I said, I wish I'd had one. This particular model was donated to the Florence Nightingale Hospice charity. They've asked me to have a little look at it to see how it fares after all these years. I'll put a link in the comments to their eBay selling site so you can see what they've got for sale at any particular time. The first thing that I do when I'm going to check out a camera like this is take the battery cover off and look at the condition of the batteries. Now, I've actually replaced these ones. The batteries that were in here were SG13 alkaline batteries. I've replaced them with LR44s because that's what I've got. Now, the contact in here is very clean. The contact on the other end, though, was very corroded, so I've cleaned that up. So I can put the batteries back in. They go positive upwards. Right. As this is a manual camera, all that the batteries actually do is operate the metering system. I'll come on to that in a while. But to switch the camera on, I just advance this film advance to about 20 degrees, and it is a positive click. If you are left-eyed, like I am, then this may cause you a few problems. However, if you're right-eyed, then this should cause you no difficulty whatsoever. The next thing I'm going to check are the light seals. So to open the back of the camera, I move this dial, this rewind knob up to this position, then pop it open, and the light seals run around here and make sure that there is no light leakage onto the film. These appear to be okay. However, when I looked at the one inside, which is just here, this appears to be starting to rot away. I should think it'd be fine for the moment. The purpose of this one is to stop light leaking in from the pentaprism when the shutter's open and the mirror's up, but also to soften the shock of the mirror as it goes up into the camera. Okay for the moment, but it's not going to last forever. Looking at the shutter itself, it's a cloth blind horizontal running shutter with speeds from 1/1000th of a second to 1 second plus B. At the moment I've set it on B, so the shutter will stay open for as long as I have the shutter release depressed. Open, closed. Open, closed. And then basically, because I don't have electronic testing gear, I go around this like, well, that sounds like a second. This should be half a second. Okay, this is 1/4 of a second. And so on, through to 1/1000th of a second. And this all appears to be absolutely fine. The reason I keep pressing this is there is a slight give in here, which is a bit odd. It's not supposed to do that. But hopefully it won't affect the images. Then let's just have a look at the optics. The lens runs very smoothly. The aperture ring works nicely, and there are no marks, no haze, no fungus in the lens. This lens is the 35mm f2.8 lens. So I would be fairly confident that this is going to work. The only function of the batteries is to operate the meter. I will show you a picture of what the meter looks like. To operate this camera, basically you either choose an aperture or a shutter speed that you want to use. If you want to freeze movement, perhaps you're going to go for a very short shutter speed. If you want lots of depth of field, maybe a large aperture. And then your job is to match the other setting with the one that you've chosen. If I want to use f22, then I'm going to have to move this around to fairly long shutter speed time. Likewise, if I want a limited depth of field, then maybe then I can use a higher shutter speed. Now the thing that I know from the meter is that there are a number of LEDs in the right hand side of the viewfinder, as you can see on the illustration, and I'm aiming to get a green light. If I've got a green light, then I'm good to go. If I've got an amber light, then I'm a little bit out one way or the other. If I've got a red light, then I am more than a stop out. So all I have to do is match the shutter speed to the aperture to make the light green. That sounds so simple. It's really not quite as simple as that. For me, the way I would do this is I would select the shutter speed first, and then I would alter the aperture. I do that because that's just easier for me. It's easier for me to use the hand which is supporting the weight of the camera than the hand which is going to trigger the camera. Other features of this camera, well, you can see that this shutter speed here on the 60th has also got a little, well, apart from the fact it's in red, it's also got a little X by it. This is your electronic flash sync speed. This is the shortest period of time where the whole of the gate of the shutter is open at the same time. So if you're going to put a hot shoe flash on here, you would need to keep this at a 60th of a second. However, you can use a corded flash gun, and the little plugs here, which are really snugly covered up, will allow you, let's take it off completely, will allow you to plug your corded flash gun in. You'll notice there are two sockets. One is for an electronic flash, which is the X socket, which is the lower one, and the FP socket is for a bulb. So that again shows the age of the camera. It's so nice. I really want to get this back without damaging it. On this side of the camera, I have a self timer. That doesn't work. Hang on. That's what I want, that little button there. And the self timer is approximately 10 seconds. Again, completely mechanical, it's a clockwork shutter. Whew, that's a relief. It's always a relief when it goes off. The shutter release has a threaded button which allows you to put a remote cable release in it, and this button here will allow you to lock the collar so you cannot accidentally take pictures with the camera film advanced. Bottom of the camera, you can see that it has a separate cover here. This is for the mechanical linkage for the autowinder, and here are the electronic linkages for the autowinder. I've done another video on how to load and unload a film in it, so I won't bore you with that one. But this is a beautiful, beautiful little piece of kit. When Nikon ruled the world and Canon were finding their feet, it was Pentax and Olympus who produced the prettiest cameras, and this certainly is up there. Again, this is one of the cameras that I wish I always had but never did. Now I've got the opportunity to have it again, I guess, if I want to bid on it, but as I've said before, this is going to be on eBay. seems to work fine. What else have I missed? Rewind crank, which is on the other video, frame counter, and that's about as simple as it gets. What a lovely machine. I really like the Pentax MX. Loads of people complain that the electronics fry on them. That's certainly the case, but if you find a good one where the meter still works, and the meter still works fine on this one, then it is well worth investing a few quid if you want a very nice looking, very small, very capable system based camera. So Pentax MX from the mid to late 1970s.